This segment is brought to you by A.J. Doman Chevrolet. We say yes when others say no.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you are joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And you know, whenever we need updates from things happening over to our west in Assumption Parish, we always welcome in Commander Lonnie Cavalier. Lonnie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Keith. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. And with the Assumption Parish Sheriff's Office, we've got lots of things going on. Tell us first about Joel Thomas Gaspard.
Yes, Joe Thomas Gaspard, 47, and 124 Pine Street, Laverdale, was arrested on felony battery charges arising from a fight at a residence on Borough Street in Pierrepont. Deputies were dispatched to the location and located one victim suffering from moderate injuries. The victim advised deputies that an individual now identified as Joe T. Gaspard had beat him. At the time deputies arrived, Gaspard had departed the scene. He was located and arrested a short time later. Based on witness accounts and physical evidence, Joe Thomas Gaspard was booked into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of second-degree battery, simple criminal damage to property, and criminal trespass. Gaspard remains incarcerated with his bond set at $55,000. The victim was transported by a catering ambulance to a healthcare facility for treatment.
Very good. We thank you, Commander. The second one we have going on is aggravated assault with a firearm of Mr. Tyler.
Yes, Marcus Charles Tyler Sr., 58 of 110A Valley Street, Laverdale, Louisiana, was arrested on felony aggravated assault charges arising from an incident in a 2400 block of Highway 308 near Laverdale on Monday. Deputies were dispatched to the area in reference to a shooting incident. Upon arrival, deputies made contact with one of the parties involved who indicated that he and an individual identified as Marcus Charles Tyler Sr. were involved in a physical altercation. At some point, Marcus Charles Tyler Sr. allegedly retrieved a firearm and began chasing the other party. Detectives interviewed an independent witness who indicated at least one shot was heard during the incident. After interviewing Marcus Charles Tyler Sr. and the victim, detectives arrested Tyler and booked him into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of aggravated assault with a firearm, illegal use of weapons, or dangerous instrumentalities. Marcus Charles Tyler Sr. remains incarcerated with his bond set at $115,000.
Very good, Commander. Thank you so much. Let's talk about this ICE arrest of Mr. Joseph Clark.
Yes, Joseph H. Clark, 34, 2966, Highway 1, Laverdale, was arrested on felony drug charges from a traffic stop on LA 308 near Napoleonville. A uniformed patrol deputy assigned to the ICE detail observed a vehicle on Highway 308 with an equipment violation and executed a stop of that vehicle. The deputy made contact with the driver, now identified as Joseph H. Clark, and engaged Clark in an officer violator interview. At the conclusion of that interview, the deputy believed that additional investigation was warranted. The deputy requested and was granted consent to search the vehicle. During the subsequent search, the deputy seized 29 doses of the drug alprazolam, also known as Xanax. Joseph H. Clark was arrested and booked into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of possession of alprazolam modified exhaust systems. Joseph H. Clark posted a $7,500 commercial bond.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. And also, let's talk a little bit about this violation of protective orders on Mr. Frederick.
Is Joshua Jermaine Frederick, 41 of 23, 200 Mills Boulevard, Robert, Louisiana, was arrested on a warrant charging him with failure to appear in court in Assumption Parish on charges of felony protective order violations. Joshua Jermaine Frederick was previously arrested in Assumption Parish, and as a result of that arrest, was ordered to appear in court for trial on July 21st, 2025. Joshua Jermaine Frederick failed to appear as ordered, resulting in a warrant being issued for his arrest on July 21st, 2025. Joshua Jermaine Frederick was arrested in Napoleonville on October 7th, 2025, and was booked into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of failure to appear in court in Assumption Parish on July 21st for trial on 3 counts of violation of protective order. Joshua Jermaine Frederick remains incarcerated and was ordered held without bond.
Commander, we appreciate that very much. You know, it's really interesting. You know, we've got 4 different situations here where 4 different people have either broken the law and then done that again, not shown up, or people who feel like they can just, you know, go and beat somebody up or go and brandish a weapon in an altercation and fire shots. It's just really interesting that we're starting to see some patterns here that you guys are dealing with in Assumption Parish every week, it seems.
Yeah, and it's a pattern, and you know, everybody else goes through it, and you know, I think people don't have any value for life anymore, and unfortunately, this is where it takes us. And in many cases, people lose their lives, and other people spend the rest of their lives in prison. So, you know, we're going to do our best to you know, get a hold of this and do what we got to do with it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And a final thought, just as we close this particular segment, really nice to see the community come out and partner with you guys out on Night Out Against Crime, right? You had a really good time.
Yes, everything went well attended, and you know, so far so good. And we're going to do our best to repeat those events, not only at this time of the year, but in the community and the schools as well.
Well, we know that y'all presence is very well known. We're very thankful to get updates from you guys. We're going to take another short break. We'll come back and we'll talk a lot more. We always appreciate all of the updates. You guys seem to have a lot of those. We'll talk to you really soon.
Thanks, Heath.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, we appreciate that as well. Updates from Commander Lonnie Cavalier with Assumption Parish Sheriff's Office. And that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. We've got a whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by A.J. Doman Chevrolet. We say yes when others say no.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And again, we'd like to get our updates from what things happening over to our west in Assumption Parish. Welcome back in, Commander Lonnie Cavalier. Commander, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Keith.
All right, we appreciate it. I know you've got lots of things going on, got lots of arrests. Let's start off talking about this aggravated assault with Lawrence Forrestal Jr.
Yes, this arose out of a domestic incident. Lawrence Forrestal Jr., 60 and 148 Honey Lane, Bayou, Lewis, was arrested on felony charges arising from a domestic incident at the aforementioned address on Monday evening. Deputies were dispatched to the location in connection with an ongoing altercation, and they reported fire. Deputies arrived on scene and made contact with the victim as well as the suspect, now identified as Lawrence Forrestal Jr. Deputies were able to determine that Lawrence Forrestal and the victim engaged in a confrontation, and at some point, Lawrence Forrestal Jr. threw a beer bottle, striking the victim. Forrestal then allegedly lit the camper trailer the pair owned on fire. The fire was quickly contained. At the conclusion of the investigation, Lawrence Forrestal Jr. was arrested and booked into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of domestic abuse, aggravated assault. Lawrence Forrestal Jr. posted a $10,000 commercial bond and is currently under a protective order.
Okay, we appreciate that. Let's go and talk a little bit about some of these off-road vehicles that were on the roadway here by an individual who has some history of DWI.
Yes, Cody Joseph Leonard, 48 and 153 Sportsman Drive, Belle Rose, Louisiana, was arrested on felony driving while intoxicated charges after he was stopped for driving an off-road vehicle on Highway 70 near Bayou. A uniformed patrol deputy observed the off-road vehicle westbound on LA 70 and initiated a stop of that vehicle. The deputy made contact with the driver, identified as Cody Joseph Leonard. The deputy noted an odor of alcohol emitting from the person of Cody Joseph Leonard. The deputy conducted field sobriety testing of Leonard, of which he performed poorly. Cody Joseph Leonard was arrested and transported to the Assumption Parish Detention Center, where he was administered intoxilizer testing. Leonard recorded a 0.20 grams of scent breath alcohol result. Cody Joseph Leonard was booked on charges of driving while intoxicated, a third offense felony, driving an off-road vehicle upon a public roadway, and no safety helmet. Cody Joseph Leonard remains incarcerated with bond set at $100,000.
So, Commander, it's really interesting. I think sometimes people feel like that they can just use any off-road vehicle, and they think that they're maybe being safer by using those vehicles instead of a car or a truck. But when you drive on a roadway or on a highway especially, same laws apply to those vehicles and to drinking.
Yes, and unfortunately for him, he was in court on Monday, wrecked his pickup truck. He pled guilty on Monday to DWI, wrecked his truck on Tuesday, and then got into this off-road vehicle and was caught on the highway with it. So obviously some serious concerns with this driver.
Right, right. And so again, I just want people to learn from that. Just by using an off-road vehicle, you can't do that. Use an off-road vehicle on off-road, and don't do any of it when you're drinking. Those can only equal to a bad situation, as he's experienced 3 times now. So thank you for that, Commander. All right, let's talk a little bit about this felony theft from a William Schra.
Yes, William C. Shira, 54 of 105 Mitchie Street, Pierrepont, Louisiana, was arrested in connection with an incident at a local wholesale retail outlet in Pierrepont. Deputies were dispatched to the business in reference to a product scanner being stolen. The employees of the business reviewed electronic surveillance material and were able to observe an individual taking possession of the scanner, concealing it on his person, and leaving the business premises. Deputies and employees were able to identify the suspect as William C. Shira. Deputies secured an arrest warrant charging William C. Shira. Deputies arrested Shira on October 11, 2025 in Pierrepont and booked him into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of felony theft. William C. Shira remains incarcerated with his bond set at $10,000.
Thank you very much, Commander. And lastly, let's talk a little bit about Mr. Gautreaux, felony in possession of a firearm.
Yes, Brandon Jude Gautreaux, 21489 Best Road, Prairieville, Louisiana, was arrested on felony charges arising from a traffic stop on Highway 398 west of Labradorville. A uniformed patrol deputy observed the vehicle committed traffic violation and executed a stop of that vehicle. The deputy attempted to contact the driver and requested identification, auto, and insurance information. The driver placed a placard against the window indicating some association similar to a sovereign citizen. After the driver refused to produce the requested materials and refused to exit the vehicle, the deputy summoned assistance. When assistance arrived, deputies were able to identify the suspect as Brandon Jude Gautreaux. Investigating deputies were able to gain entry into the vehicle, at which time Brandon Jude Gautreaux engaged deputies in a violent physical confrontation. Deputies were able to take Gautreaux into custody, at which time a knife was seized from his person. Deputies recovered a large caliber handgun from the suspect vehicle, as well as suspected marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Gautreaux could not legally possess a firearm due to a 2017 conviction for possession of methamphetamine. Brandon Jude Gautreaux was arrested and booked into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, resisting an officer by force or violence, 2 counts, obstruction of justice, resisting an officer, possession of marijuana, speeding, proper equipment required on vehicles. Brandon Jude Gautreaux remains incarcerated with his bond set at $175,000.
Commander, we always appreciate your time. Thank you for keeping us safe. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Keith, for having us.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. But don't go anywhere. I got a whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Waits and Downer, attorneys at law.